Is now 7 o'clock. Welcome to the Planning Commission meeting for February 19th, 2026. Call the meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Certainly. Member Bacha?
Here.
Member Mulder?
Present.
Member Tominello?
Here.
And Member Nuckin present.
The other three members
we have Member Devlin, Member Oparka, and Member Murray excused, absent tonight.
First item is approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. Do you have any discussion or changes, or is there a motion?
I wouldn't mind discussion on item F1 on the short-term rentals. A couple of things there. Given that we've gotten such a large amount of dialogue from the community on this subject, actually more than I anticipated, but the fact of the matter is it's been a great deal. And given that we have a really limited board today, I'm not sure that I would feel comfortable us making a recommendation to the board with only a limited board. I think the entire board would be better. Now, that being said, I'm going to assume, based upon what's occurred in the last couple meetings, that the majority of the people here are here to discuss short-term rentals. So this is the part of the discussion that I wouldn't mind with the board. If I were to make the recommendation to pull that from the agenda, that would mean everybody that's here is wasted their time, and that's not fair to these people. So leaving it on the agenda, I'm okay with. I don't think when we get to that point that I'm going to be comfortable making any recommendations to the board. So I don't know where anybody else feels.
No, I was kind of tracking the same thing. I know the township board has asked for a little expediency in us making a decision or a recommendation to send to them. But we are missing 3 members tonight. If we were to split the vote, those missing members could sway it one way or the other. So I'm also leaning towards moving it from the agenda until we have a larger number of the members here.
So fair. So that part again, but I guess I'll look for some other conversation. Leaving it on the agenda can still occur. The people that are here can still be here to discuss. Just we're not gonna move on it then, because I wouldn't want everybody to be here and we're gonna say we're gonna take it off, and then their commitment to be here would have been futile. But any thoughts to that?
So first of all, I don't know if you're going to say that there is no more discussion from the audience. We did close the public hearing. And I just do want to remind the board that we're making a recommendation to the board. We aren't granting or denying. We're just making a recommendation. So just keep that in mind as well. And Ken's right. The board did ask us to go ahead and they want an answer ASAP. And that would then take us into March or even to April. And I think they wanted this in place, by that time. So I just want to make the board aware of that. I don't know, Rosemary, did you want to say something? Okay, thanks.
They'll still have the ability to speak at public comments.
Public comments, that'd be
Right.
at the end of the meeting.
Right, at the end of the meeting, after we've gone through this conversation. Well, right. But our recommendation of the board is still has a lot of weight to it. So then that being said, all that being said, I still feel uncomfortable on a subject matter that has created such integration with the residents that all that being said, then I'm going to recommend to pull it from the agenda. Because I don't feel comfortable with not having a full board to be part of our recommendation. And I do respect the request to accelerate, but given the amount of involvement that we've all witnessed, I don't see what a month means relative to this entire scenario, given what the long-term ramifications could be to the township. So that's going to be my recommendation to pull it then.
discussion? So
Do you still want a motion to approve the agenda?
yes,
Okay, so you'd have to make a motion.
yes, that's what I was going to ask. If there's no other discussion, we would need a
Then I'll
motion.
make the motion to, okay, fair point. I'll make the motion to approve the agenda, but to remove item F1 from the agenda.
Is there support?
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Member Bacha, supported by Member Duncan. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I don't disagree. I would like to put this to rest at some point, but I think we've seen in the last meeting or two that the three members that aren't present were kind of leaning in a certain direction, good, bad, or indifferent, depending on your viewpoint. And I think discussing it tonight without them here to hear what's being said does them a disservice, if we don't take action on it tonight and we wait till next month. So I think it's just easier polling it.
Does it require a roll call or just a,
You could do a roll call.
okay. No other discussion? Roll call, please.
Roll call, Member Bacha.
Yes.
Member Duncan, yes. Member Mulder
Yes.
and Member Tominello.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda, approval of the minutes from the last meeting, January 15th, 2026.
Make the motion to approve as outlined.
There's support for the motion to approve?
I'll support.
Motion to approve the minutes from January 15, 2026 by Member Duncan, supported by Member Tominello. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. The next item is the approval of minutes from the workshop on February 5th, 2026.
Motion to approve the minutes from the workshop.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Member Tominello, supported by Member Duncan, to approve the minutes from the workshop February 5th, 2026. Any discussion on the motion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion passes. First item on the agenda, case C1.
C1, we have case number 03-26-S, Mondo Properties, 34535 Jefferson Avenue, number 17-11-36-404-025, Harrison Township, 48045 RM/2, condominium development consisting of 4 units.
Is the applicant present tonight? Please like to come up to the podium. Would you like to address it first or have the planner discuss the development first?
You may discuss. I mean, everything was approved to
Okay.
build. Just wanted to change it from, apartment or rental building to condos.
Okay, Adam, if you'd like to give an overview?
All right, very good. I have a review letter for you that's in your packet. This is a 4-unit attached multiple family condominium project. It's located at proposed to be located at 34535 Jefferson Avenue. The property is zoned RM2 district with conditions. You may recall that they went through a conditional rezoning process. One of the conditions is that they limit it to 4 units, only 4 units, when there could have been maybe 5 or 6 allowed per the underlying zoning. They appeared before you multiple times, and in fact, it was approved as a site plan in front of the Planning Commission previously. That was on January 16th of 2025, so just a little more than a year ago. Essentially, the only change, and the applicant has indicated as such, is that at that time, 1 year ago, they had indicated that it would be owned by them or maybe a management company, and it would be the 4 units would be rental units. The applicant has changed their mind, and they're looking to establish this as a condominium. So each of the 4 units would be owner occupied, and there would be a condominium structure established, things of that nature. So with that change, since it wasn't previously requested, And there is a process to do condominiums, so it requires them to come back before the planning commission for re-review and approval for the site plan. So they have now provided to us the condominium documents, so the draft condominium master deed, the draft condominium bylaws, and essentially they provided the same site plan that was previously approved. The only couple of comments that I have is on the landscaping plan. When you approved the landscaping plan in January of the last year, you had made a request that the landscape plan should not include spruce or maple trees. And they're still showing a couple of spruce trees on that landscaping plan. So we would just ask, actually, you made it a contingency of your approval back in January. So we want to make sure that the ultimate landscape plan shows no spruce trees. The other comment is that they didn't provide the Exhibit B, which is a document within the proposed master deed and condominium bylaws. But it essentially is, the Exhibit B looks very much like this site plan. It just kind of outlines specifically which units are going to be occupied versus the common areas that are going to be part of, not individually owned, but commonly owned by the condominium. So that is, documentation that can be taken care of really at a later date. And our township attorney, of course, Rosemary, we're going to want her to take a look at the condominium master deed and the bylaws and the Exhibit B document as well to make sure that everything looks good in that regard. But I would recommend approval at this time, just based on the spruce trees being eliminated from the landscape plan, and then township attorney review and approval of those condominium documents.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
I have a motion by member Tominello, supported by member Basha, to recommend approval of case 03-26-S, Mando Properties. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
one clarification that it's not a recommendation for approval, it would be approval.
I'm sorry, approval?
Yes. Planning Commission has authority for approval of the site plan.
Any discussion on the motion? The only thing I'd like to bring up in the motion, do you want to make the motion contingent upon the two items brought up by the planner?
That was part of what the planner had talked about, and I assume that is part of my motion.
Just wanted to clarify. Any other discussion on the motion? Does it require a roll call, or? Nope. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank
Do
you.
you have any other? You look like you're,
I ask one thing, the applicant, would you like me to contact the attorney that drafted your master deed for, I already reviewed it, I have some minor changes at the moment, so
Oh, yeah.
unless you want me to contact you directly.
I don't have his information with me.
I have who
Oh,
drafted it.
yeah, if you wanted to contact him directly, that'd be
All
perfect.
right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, have a good evening.
thank you. We have no public hearings, no old business on the agenda. New business, we removed item F1. Item F2, accessory buildings, regulations, discussion.
All right. I'm just pulling open my materials here, and I can give you a little bit of a background. So this item was brought to our attention by Planning Commissioner Oparka, who sits on the Zoning Board of Appeals. I think, Mr. Baccia, do you also sit on the Zoning Board of Appeals? Okay.
I do not.
Not any longer? Or you
Correct.
did previously, okay. Oh, okay, yeah, very good. All right. So at the January Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, and I can pull on screen the minutes from, or at least these are draft minutes. The Zoning Board of Appeals has not formally adopted the minutes yet. But Okay, this was a case for a property owner at 38077 Seaway. They were requesting a variance to allow for a third accessory structure on their property. One of the accessory structures, they were asking for, I believe, a shed. And were already two existing accessory structures on that property. And so adding the shed created a third accessory structure on that property. The current, or zoning ordinance presently limits the number of detached accessory structures to 2, no more than 2. One of the current accessory structures was a covered boat well, and the other, I believe, was an open air gazebo. So in the zoning ordinance, this is section 502 of the zoning ordinance. And here's the language where it talks about item A2, a maximum of 2 detached accessory buildings shall be permitted per site. And then item number 3 here actually talks about covered boat wells. It says covered boat wells shall count toward the number of detached accessory structures permitted. So in the limitation of 2, if one of them is a covered boat well, that is included as one of the 2. The only exception here is that covered boat wells do not count towards the maximum allowable square footage permitted under this section. So later, you'll see that, yeah, there it is, at the top. The total floor area of all accessory buildings, including attached garages, shall not exceed 2/3 of the floor area of the principal building. So that's where that exception. So having a covered boat well doesn't hurt you in the sense of it doesn't count toward the maximum amount of floor space that you can have for detached accessory buildings, but it does for the maximum number of accessory buildings. So that was brought to our attention. I mean, Commissioner Oparka is not here this evening to share additional kind of information and insight pertaining to this topic. So and this is a discussion only. Obviously, we don't have any language drafted, or we haven't determined whether we want to make any change to the zoning ordinance. But as I recall, at the last month, she did, wonder if this something that we would want to take a look at? Should a covered boat well be counted toward the maximum number of accessory buildings that could be allowed on any property? Obviously, that would you can't have a covered boat well unless you have a waterfront property. So this particular topic is germane really to waterfront properties here. So in that sense, you could say that, as I was thinking about it earlier, that a waterfront property is kind of treated not the same as a non-waterfront property in that sense, where it's common, I would assume, that a covered boat well is common for a waterfront property, or not uncommon maybe, but in that sense they're getting penalized for having a covered boat well, whereas if you're not on the waterfront and you wouldn't have a covered boat well, you can have a shed and a gazebo, but if you are on the waterfront and you have a covered boat well, you can only have one other one in this case. So maybe Commissioner Oparka was kind of getting to that point. I can't speak for her specifically.
So I did want to ask Rosemary, Member Parker's not here, we do have another member of the ZBA. Is it allowable, this isn't a public hearing, but if they have any other insight on this, would they be allowed?
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
If I could,
Yes,
thank you,
please.
thank you. Could you come on up? I have the homeowner here with me. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Robert Leonetti. I live at 29528 Seaway. I do live on a waterfront property, and this is my neighbor. I am also on the zoning board for Harrison Township. I've been an attorney for 30 years. Rosemary knows me, so I have some familiarity with laws and ordinances, and currently I serve as Chief Assistant Macomb County Prosecutor. I did rule against my neighbor. However, the reason why I'm here and the reason why Ms. Oparka brought this up is because it was a difficult decision. We wanted to follow the law, but there's a conflict with the law here. And some of the things you pointed out, the fact that folks who live on the water have these covered boat wells, somewhat treated a little bit differently than folks who aren't living along the water. That's exactly what happened to Mr. McCready here. This board planned an ordinance, it's Article 9, parking ordinance, section N, I think you guys planned this where you said you can only have like 3 recreational vehicles out in front of your yard, and you wanted to have people encourage them to put them into a enclosed structure. That's kind of what Mr. McCready did. You know, people who live on the water tend to have these recreational vehicles. He has more than I do, but they tend to have them. What Mr. McCready did is he says, look, I'm going to put my recreational vehicles in my garage. What I'm going to do is build this shed, which is a nice shed, so I can put my other stuff from my garage in the shed. Well, unfortunately, because he had a gazebo and he has this covered boat well, that shed was a 3rd structure. Now, he couldn't meet the hardship requirement because he said, well, now what I'm going to have to do is just get a trailer on wheels, which is permissible, and put my junk in the trailer, but that's not going to look good. And so what we have here, I think, is a little bit of a conflict in the law. We want to comply with the parking ordinance, Article 9, Section N, but on the other hand, he's frustrated from doing that because that covered boat well is considered a closed structure. If any of you have gone down Seaway, a lot of people have covered boat wells and some don't, but these aren't like the old houseboat wells. I mean, these are like open air, like mine has a roof, that's all it has. It doesn't cover anything. In fact, I wish it did sometimes, but it's just an open rooftop thing, and most of it's over the water anyway, as is noted in the ordinance here, and that's why it accounts for some exception to portions of the land. So what we're asking is that you guys take a look at this. Because there's a little bit of a conflict in the law, we want to comply, store our recreational vehicles in an in structure. On the other hand, we got to move our stuff out of the garage, and if we want to put it in a shed, a nice shed, we don't want to be held back because we have a covered boat. And that's where we're looking at. It's that conflict right there between these 2 ordinances right there. And so I'd rather have him have a nice shed like he had than a couple trailers sitting out on his parking lot, with his junk in. So hopefully you guys can consider that in your discussions and maybe make a slight amendment that the covered boat well wouldn't count as one of the 3rd structures.
Thank you for the insight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any discussion from the planning commission?
No, I have no objection of adding that to our list of ordinance for review. We do have a list of ordinance for review. Let's add it to the list. I'll make that motion if we need a motion. I really don't even think we need a motion, right? We just need to add it to the list.
Yeah, just direct your team to provide language for your further review.
So I did have a couple questions in this. One, exactly where does the township's jurisdiction end? Is it at the shoreline, or does it also include the water? I know we do have some ordinances discussing mooring of boats and other things, but the property owner's property ends.
Well, you need a building permit to construct
Yep.
that covered boat well.
Which I thought they were passing on to now just the Corps of Engineers, that they kind of skipped the township.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think in this case, the zoning provisions are reviewed when the building permit is submitted for an accessory structure on land, and the zoning administrator, or the building official, is bound by the provisions of the zoning ordinance. And even though the covered boat well may or may not be our jurisdiction, let's assume it isn't, or just let's say it isn't. It doesn't matter. The building official says, oh, it has a covered boat well on that property. I can't approve this language. I can't approve it because of this language. So it's kind of I guess the point doesn't really matter because the ordinance says what it says.
It's also interesting, how long has that type of idea been in your zoning ordinance? Probably for a really long time. The term covered boat well. And maybe like when the zoning ordinance was first established, covered boat well meant a complete structure as opposed to what they are now.
Boat house as opposed to.
Yeah, right.
And that's where I was going with my next one is I agree with Member Tominello, but I would like to define a covered boat well, that it be what the member from the ZBA described as an open air, just rooftop. If it has any hard size or is enclosed or any portion that's built over land, then it would still be included. But if it's strictly over water, no sides, just a rooftop, then it would be exempted.
So all the aforementioned discussion can be discussed at that meeting, and we can dissect it all we want at our next workshop.
Any other discussion from the board?
I think it's appropriate to make the move at some point.
Okay. With nothing else, do we have any additional correspondence? Comments from the planner?
Okay, I've got a couple of items for you. The first item is a request for a transfer of a liquor license. This is coming from the clerk's department. And this request is for 37030 Jefferson Avenue. Justin Nanashi. This is Harrison Bar and Grill, LLC, or the Sandbar, I think maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so in these instances here, the township clerk processes the application, and then what they do is the clerk is required by the Chapter 6 Alcoholic Liquor Ordinance to pass along the request to the Planning Commission for the Planning Commission's review and recommendation to the Township Board. So we've seen a number of these previously. So this is just a transfer, and per the Chapter 6 language, the plan is referred to the Planning Commission for their recommendation. And really, it's asking for the Planning Commission to look at the site plan or any other site parking and seating in the building. Up on screen is just an aerial photo of this property. It's kind of this corner curved property here. It is an existing kind of restaurant and bar and grill. And yeah, as I said, they're asking for a transfer of the liquor license. It's zoned general commercial, so it's zoned appropriately for a restaurant and bar. We've looked at these in the past. We don't exactly know what the planning commission is, other than it just makes reference to site plan, parking, and indoor seating.
That's what I was going to ask. Are we required to make a motion on this, or is this?
You are required to
Okay.
send a recommendation to the township board. Yes.
Is there any discussion from the planning commission members?
is this new ownership?
Do you know if this is a new owner or the reason for the transfer?
I don't know that for sure.
Because my only question would be at the top there, and I don't know that this isn't already in existence at the location. I've been there, I like it. Let's talk about Sunday sales permit, outdoor service area, which I think they have, but is that nothing new? Or that's existing already, right?
I would assume that that's the case, that maybe the license is just simply transferred from one location to this location. So it would make sense that it may be a change of ownership in some
Yeah.
way. But we don't know that detail. I don't know that for sure.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Melody, our clerk, says it's a new owner.
Okay.
So we do have a new owner.
Make that motion to approve, to recommend to the township board for approval.
Support.
Motion by member Duncan, supported by member Tominello. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion passes.
And I have one more item for you. I just wanted to give you an update on the technical team meeting that was held February 11th. We had 3 items were on the agenda. The first item was Emerald Greens LLC. If you recall, this team had come before you for a rezoning request. They had a proposed residential development on Ashland between Prentice and Shoreline. The property zoned R1C district. And so they just came before the tech team wanting to explore their options for the development of the property. They were asking for a rezoning to the multiple family district, as you recall. They're looking at their options for single family or duplex or a combination type development. So we talked about cluster, we talked about planned unit development, or we talked about just keep it to the underlying restrictions of the R1C district. Obviously, any development would come through the planning commission. That was a discussion only request. And the second one was Brian Sod of Ace Hardware, installation of a propane tank at Ace Hardware. The property is zoned general commercial. There were some comments from the fire chief and the DPW. They had originally proposed to have it along the back line. That wouldn't work because of the water main and because of the proximity to the building. So we did identify, a portion of the site, more in the corner that was outside of any maneuvering lane, and no longer would it be immediately adjacent to the residential area. So that location was approved along with some screening between that location and Metro Parkway. And then the third case was Boaz Enterprises. This is the gentleman that was just before us, I think last month or maybe 2 months ago, the warehouse development there. So he is working towards submitting his site plan for review by the Planning Commission, and he had a number of site plan issues and comments that are just thoughts. He wanted to make sure to put his ducks in a row before he would submit his official site plan to us. He also understands he needs a side yard setback variance, so we discussed that as well. So it does affect the site layout, so I think he's going to be applying to the ZBA first for that side setback variance. But we'll see that site plan, obviously, in front of the Planning Commission if he does proceed at some point. Those are the 3 items.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, comments from the floor. If anyone would like to make a public comment?
Comment, correct?
It's open comments. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes, and please give your name and address.
Nancy Byers, 29210 Grandview Street, Harrison Township. I know you're talking about the STRs, but I just want to bring up one thing that I discovered. 3 weeks ago, 20 people were arrested in Mount Clemens for sex trafficking. So it begs the question, do sex traffickers use STRs? And the answer is yes. In fact, Airbnb has a section on how to let their hosts know if they could have a problem with a pop-up brothel. Wonderful, just what I want in my neighborhood. And why do they target these STRs to use? Because they avoid police detection. And if the owner is not scrupulous, they will be more than happy to take cash, which means it doesn't have to be reported as income. So to me, this is a very bad problem. Maybe all the STR owners are all above board, but you do have the element of the black market STRs, the ones who aren't on Airbnb or VRBO. Also reading the Facebook comments, they favor regulation of these STRs. Great. Who's going to pay for the regulation and the enforcement? Just the STR owners or all of Harrison Township taxpayers? Regulation's great, but you need the enforcement. And you can't count on the neighbors to do the enforcement arm of the STRs. One resident on Facebook said he decided to open his own STR, trying to make ends meet when he couldn't sell his home. He said the STR allowed him to keep going and buy another house a few streets over. He also said there is an STR across the canal, another next door, and another across the street. His comments make the point that STRs spread quickly, and this is why cities like St. Clair Shores are banning them completely or creating moratoriums on future expansions. I've kind of changed my view on them. I was for regulating them, putting them in the commercial districts, but I don't see how the township can ever control and enforce these things. So I'm hoping the township completely bans them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Chris Lopez, 37865 Malist. I just want to say in rebuttal, it's obvious who's never owned a STR or know what we go through to have our homes and be watched and monitored by Airbnb. Our reviews, I think, speak for themselves. I don't think any of us are running brothels. We all care about our homes, our neighbors. The propaganda that gets mailed out, I think we can all agree is just that. I would have liked to have seen something where we had an option to mail yes in support. In my occupation, data in is data out, and when you have a crap mailer, your data is crap. Very much.
Any additional public comment?
Hello, again. Jackie Dankert, 30300 Mance. Sex trafficking. I can recall just a couple of years ago, wasn't that the building 2 doors down from Luigi's that got shut down, the massage parlor for sex trafficking, sex employment, et cetera. So I think that's an overgeneralization. I don't, I don't even really have the words to say anything about that, other than it happens everywhere globally. As far as enforcement, who's going to pay? Macomb County has enough residents today to institute a tourism tax on STRs. Currently, that is not here in Harrison Township, but it surely can be. That goes direct to our township to fund projects, infrastructure, enforcement, et cetera. The use tax that is collected today from short-term rentals goes to the state of Michigan. So it includes Harrison Township, but the rest of our state as well. I think these are very important items to discuss when you start discussing regulations, because I truly believe regulations is where we need to be right now. If something magically happens in the future after regulating these properties in residential districts, that you're like, oh my God, what did we do? I mean, don't we have a decision then to ban them? I mean, isn't it baby steps? So in any case, those are some of my comments. I've emailed those comments to the board. I know Melody's probably sick of getting my emails and forwarding them, but thank you for that, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Good evening. Mike Mullen, 38,000 Shoreline. Just a few things. Maybe you guys can bring this up at the next meeting because this was put off, but for the short-term rentals, how many actual complaints are there for specific properties? We have ours, and we've had nobody complain about anything to our knowledge. And we'd expect our neighbors to walk up to us and tell us. We went to a retirement party for a couple down the street just 4 weeks ago, and we had 4 couples from the neighborhood. We only got 15 houses on Shoreline on that end. And they found out, oh, you own an Airbnb. I said, yeah. They said, oh, that's where that noise is coming from. Automatically, they just assumed all this noise was coming from our Airbnb. That's Geno's Surf. They're playing at some high decibel level, the outside speakers. That's all over our neighborhood for a half mile. I'm at least a half mile away from Geno's Surf. But it's loud and clear. That's kind of stuff. It's just the impressions that people get and the assumptions that they're making. They're just ridiculous. We hardly even have a peep out of the people that are at our Airbnb. It's quiet. They come for the serenity. That's what they come for. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Any more public comment? Seeing none. Next item on the agenda, the next Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for March 19th, 2026. And I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Support?
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.